Welcome to the Commoner Elitist podcast and YouTube channel. My name is Amr Selassie. Today, I'm going to bring you another deep, conversation or title. Today's title is, What is your pod? What is your pod? And pod is an acronym for pattern of destruction. We hear people speak about patterns of behavior. For example, if you're in a relationship or you start liking someone, and as soon as things get deep or complex, then you run. You're a runner. It's a pattern of behavior. Perhaps pattern of behavior is when, you need certain things to line up in your life the way you want it to. Pattern of behavior could be when someone does this or says this, then you do this or say this. Is kind of a pattern. It's kind of like you're on automation. You're automated. You're not thinking, it's impulse. Patterns of behavior. But patterns of behavior are also the fact that you disciplined. Maybe when you set out to do things and you stick to it. Maybe patterns of behavior is the fact that you know how to make things work out. Maybe you're a survivor. It doesn't matter what happens. You can just make anything work for what it is. Patterns of behavior could be things that really, really bring joy to your life. It can really, really bring happiness to your life, but it also could bring a lot of sadness. Maybe you have a problem with, doing too much of things. Right? No balance in your life. So patterns of behavior definitely can be good and bad, and they can be small or big, but they're really based off of your behavior. But patterns of destruction, like many of us have, that's patterns of behavior that only destroy, that only causes issues in your life. There is no making it better. For example, when things go right in your life or relationship, you create a situation that gives you that enough chaos or disorganization that you feel comforted. A lot of times, many of us never admit it, but we get comfort out of a lot of the chaos that we find our lives in. And when we don't have that comfort, or we don't have, let's just say, certain chaos or dysfunction, we're always looking for it. It's always around the corner. So you can get yourself in a perfect situation, but you're always looking for that chaos, that destruction. But it's a self-prophecy, fulfilling prophecy, because if it doesn't happen naturally, you create it. But patterns of destruction is just not about getting stuck in bad behaviors. It's also about not realizing when you are the destroyer. I found that there's 3 functions of the great I am, which you all refer to as P.O.D. And that is creator, sustainer, and destroyer. And if you look at the microcosm versus the macrocosm, you'll find that even our own lives are like that. The cells in your body create, whether it's nutrition, energy, or whatever. They sustain with their lives. If all the cells in your body start dying, that means you're dying. and they destroy. They destroy things that get into your body that doesn't supposed to be there. Free radicals. If you ever notice that in the process of manufacturing, you destroy a tree, chop it down, cut it to pieces, you put chemicals in it, turn it to boards, and then you create a house. Destroy, and then that house, you want to sustain it. You want that wood to sustain itself. Or maybe you grow trees in your yard so you sustain this wood just so you could destroy it later and then you could create with it. You take an idea for a painting. You can create it, paint your living room, paint your dining room, sustain it, keep it clean, it's there. And then when that idea changes to a different color, you destroy it. Everything is about creation, sustainment, and destroying. That's how the universe works. Whatever you create, when things are created, there's a sustainer, there's a destroyer, and that's just like your immune system. But a lot of times in our process of creation, like we deal with the creation process, we deal with sustaining. I created my wealth. You say, I created my family. I sustain my family by working, by doing things, right? We admit that, we say that. But do you ever say, how am I being destructive? Destructiveness, or to destroy something, doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Because when you put food in your mouth and you destroy the food, and an animal that created the food or the plant is destroyed, is to sustain you so that you can create. It's always about creation, sustainment, and destroying. That's the cycle. But what is your pattern of destruction? Now, with the cycle of creation, sustainment, and destroying, that in itself creates, it's a cycle, it's a pattern. But a lot of times in our lives, the destruction part is not a part of a bigger picture. You destroying every job you go to, because always the boss's fault, the employer's fault, your co-worker's fault, and there's always drama. You being destructive to these jobs and these people around you, what is that doing? That's a cycle. But what is a cycle creating but destruction? See, a cycle of destruction is supposed to be for another creative instance. Every time there's destruction in your life, it is supposed to lead to sustainment or creation. But if destruction is only making you go downhill or making you start over again, that's not true. I mean, it's destruction. It's a pattern of destruction, but it's not one that is natural. We know that is coming from a place of trauma, a place that doesn't really belong there. If you chop down a tree and you leave the tree there and you don't do anything with it, it's disrespectful. Just killed something and you ain't doing anything with it. That's why you're supposed to bless food and be appreciative of food. That's why, for me personally, I don't throw away a lot of food, because something died to sustain you and you just throw it away like it didn't take a million years for all that thing to happen. It's disrespectful. And I believe that those are many curses that you do to your life, but that's a different podcast. So look, what is your pattern of destruction? Can you admit it? Can you admit that this is a place in my life that falls, that is not being sustained, it's not creative, it's just destructive. You got a gambling habit. How is that leading to anything positive? How is not taking your budget or finances seriously? It's putting you in a pattern, but not nothing that's going to create nothing but pain and suffering. So as I talk about this, I understand that even your pattern of destruction, not creation, not sustainment, but your pattern of just destruction, right? It's creating, but it ain't nothing you want. So is your pattern of destruction not being accountable? Have you ever thought, this is my fault? Have you ever thought about the fact that you doing the same stuff you was doing as a teenager? Remember when your people, friends, boyfriend, relative, uncle, auntie told you, hey, why are you doing that? And you looked at them and you told them, I wasn't. And here you are in your 20s or 30s or 40s doing the same stuff. And you still ain't admitted it though. It's a pattern of destruction. It ain't leading to nowhere. What has it given you? Denial. You sleep better at night, but you really don't sleep better at night. Gravity is there, whether we realize it or not, or accept it or not. The same thing with karma, the same thing with our bad choices. Making a bad choice is going to lead to something, myself included. Doing things, rather it's hidden, that no one knows about except for the great I am. And you know it, it's still here, still being destructive. So your girlfriend may not know who you texting, but you know. Right? And you probably had that same behavior for the last 10 years. But it was her fault, her fault, her fault. You can always justify, look, you can justify any and absolutely everything you desire to. Everything is justifiable. Everything has a root cause. The question you ask yourself is, with this destructive behavior I have, what is it building in me? Because if it's destructive but it's not building anything, then you know what it's destroying? You. You know what's creating? What does a pattern of destruction create? A worse version of yourself. You gonna admit it? Or you gonna still blame your daddy? Or your husband? Or your kids? Or the boss? Or your sister? The government? How about traumas? You gonna blame them? What about your ancestors? A different race of people, a different religion, people who are wealthy, poor people, darker people, lighter people. Blame, P.O.D. Something to think about. So, in short, create and sustain until it's time to destroy. But that destroy or destruction is to create something better. Always. When you destroy your relationship, you better be a better person than you were when you got in there. You want to destroy or segment yourself from a job, you better find yourself going to a better one. You want to graduate to being an entrepreneur in the business, then do better. You want to move to a different place, better place, okay. Nothing wrong with destruction. We do it all the time. But is your destruction creative and making you better, or you're simply just becoming a worse version of yourself? And you're comfortable with that. So what is your pattern of destruction? Name it. Understand why, deal with it, and figure out a way of using alchemy, personal alchemy, to shift it. You don't have to necessarily just change the pattern of behavior, by the way, but make it work for you. If you have an addictive personality, addict yourself to making money. Addict yourself to working out. If you have a personality that you love people or that you hate people, use it to your embetterment. Let your patterns of behavior not be your patterns of destruction. Thank you.